lovely. So today I want to talk about the third pillar, if you like, of skills that your Chihuahua puppy needs in order to grow up confident and calm. So in the previous two puppy videos, we talked about growing calmness, and we talked about growing independence. So in this video today, we're going to be talking about optimism and why optimism is such an important skill for our Chihuahua puppy. So, optimism for a dog is the belief that the world is safe, that it's interesting, that something good is going to happen, rather than the dog constantly worrying about, oh, what's going to happen next? Oh, there's movement there. What does that mean for me? A confident puppy is a puppy or a dog that goes, yeah, it's none of my business. No, I don't need to worry about that. And that is so much better for them overall than a dog who's constantly, oh, I'm a bit worried about that. And this is what happens to Chihuahua puppies when the socialization goes wrong really early on. So, when we get a puppy, one of the first pieces of advice that you will get is socialize, socialize, socialize. Okay, expose them to everything, take them everywhere, meet lots of dogs, meet lots of people. And this is apparently going to turn your dog into a socialized dog. Not and your dog isn't going to be one of these chihuahuas that has a reputation for barking and snapping and being aggressive and struggling on walks. The problem with that is it quite often produces the exact opposite of what you're trying to achieve. And the reason for that is really simple. The reason for that is you are overloading your dog's nervous system. Your dog does not have the skills to go and meet that dog, to go and meet that person, to be put into that busy place. So their arousal level goes right up. Their system floods with cortisol, and your dog is completely flooded with emotions and anxiety that they can't process. Now, what happens here then is your dog drops into what's called avoidance. Avoidance is the suite of behaviors, if you will, that your Chihuahua picks to make something go away. So that could be your barking, that could be your lunging, that could be your teeth out when someone approaches, because the dog is asking themselves, what is going to happen next? And I don't like it, because their system is completely and utterly overwhelmed. So they drop into avoidance behaviors. The other option is your dog might become completely shut down. This depends on whether your dog is an active coper or a passive coper. Active coping dogs tend to be the dogs that come out swinging, they come out with their teeth out, they come out with lots of noise. And passive coping dogs are dogs that just shut down, dogs that go stiff, dogs that are worried. And quite often, when your dog exhibits these behaviors, the advice you're given is do it more. Do it more because the dog is going to get used to it. Do it more because the dog is going to start to realize that nothing bad is going to happen. But that is not how they roll. A dog is learning something, whether you want them to learn it or not. And if you continually push them through the same process which is causing anxiety, they are just rehearsing that anxiety. At no point, if you give someone a treat to give your dog, is the dog going to go, oh, I get it now. People are all right. They're all right. Don't need to be worried about them. Okay. All that happens when you do that is that your dog may go towards that person to get the food because they want the food more than they don't want to meet that person, which is causing a conflict of emotion for the dog. That can often result in a dog snapping the food or suddenly becoming overwhelmed halfway through the interaction and biting the person. I mean, how often do you hear that? His tail was wagging, and then I bent down to pet him and he bit me. And that is quite often your conflict of emotion. So this is the issue that happens around the old socialization narrative. And you can probably hear I'm really, really passionate about it because it causes so many problems for our dogs. And so many of these problems are really difficult to unpick further down the line. So what I want you to do is park and completely ignore the advice you're going to get around socializing your puppy, because I can promise you the chances are it's going to cause more problems than it solves. And even if your puppy is sufficiently relaxed with it, Again, what are you teaching them? If they go up to another dog and, oh, let's play, let's have fun, you've just taught your dog that running up to other dogs is okay. You don't want that when your dog is off lead because they might run up to a dog and it's not okay. And then there's a bad interaction which can completely obliterate your dog's confidence. Real socialization is teaching your Chihuahua to ignore other dogs. Okay, it's teaching them to ignore other people. Your dog is not there to entertain other people. If they want to pet a dog, they need to get their own dog. Okay, your dog probably does not want that interaction. And as soon as we start to understand that and advocate for our dogs, then we are going to start growing their confidence and having a better opportunity for our dogs to be more optimistic. So growing our dog's optimism actually starts way before you'd ever take them out on a walk. It's something that you start to do with your dog straight away. Again, focus on this rather than the sit, stay down. Okay. So we are teaching our dog that curiosity gets results, that it's rewarding in the exploring leads to good things. So, and the environment that they live in is safe. We want a dog that is, yay, everything's great, everything's going to go well, rather than a dog that is constantly tight and constantly worried about what's going to happen next. So every time your puppy finds value in something rewarding or they get a little win in something, the brain releases dopamine, which creates curiosity. It grows curiosity and I can't say that with a stutter. Curiosity is the beginning of our optimism. Now, there are some great games that help grow optimism. Again, if you look at the games we talked about in the calmness and in the independence videos, those are also really nice ones to play for optimism. But we could add in a couple more. Lovely little one is a tiny little food flick game. So again, you've got your little puppy at home. We want them to learn that moving around and chasing their food is an optimistic, fun game. So little food flicks. So you might face a corner to start with so your puppy doesn't kind of wander off all over the place. Flick a little bit of food. Your puppy runs. Your puppy gets it. They'll turn around. They'll look at you, go, yeah, I love that. And you're going to mark it with a nice or a good, and you're going to flick the food out again. You're giving the dog confidence to move away from you, but you're also growing that little neural pathway that I need to focus back on you because this is where the fun is. Out you go again, get the food out again. So these little food flicks that get your dog moving around everywhere, because a dog that is moving is generally calmer and happier than a dog that's really sat still. So little food flicks are a super game to play with your dog. You might have to start small and just flick them and maybe 1 or 2 inches just to get your dog moving. You might have to increase the value of the food to start with to get them moving. But once you've done that, you can just bring that down to something less crazy inducing. Have the food flicking, have the dog running about, you're giving them the independence to move away from you, but catch that little look back that goes, yeah, this is mummy is where the game comes from, and the dog is moving. Again, you're putting the dog in a joyful mindset. You're putting the dog into a seeking mindset. You're growing optimism and you're growing joy, and the dog is moving. And when they're moving, they're not so tight and they're not moving around like little toy soldiers. So a food flick game, great one to get started with. Another really nice one is the garden tray game, or you can use a swimming pool. Depends kind of, like the blue shells. Depends how big your dog is. For Chihuahua puppies, normally just the little garden trays are useful, the potting trays. You can put some of the balls that you get from kids' ball pool in there, or some empty bottles and bits and pieces like that. And you might bait some food. And again, this depends on where your puppy is emotionally. You might only have 2 or 3 little pieces in there. But then as the dog becomes more confident and more optimistic, they are going to be hunting for bits of food inside this box that makes a noise. So they're learning optimism. Oh, I found something. Oh, I found something. That's great. They're also working on their independence, and they're also working on their confidence, because they're learning that noise isn't a problem, that movement is a problem, that texture isn't a problem. So the garden tray game is really useful. As your Chihuahuas grow in confidence, you can put more in there. Obviously, make sure it's clean and make sure it's not sharp. But you might just need to work off slowly to start with. And just to start with, just your dog getting in the tray might be the first stage of your game. So you need to look at where your dog is and then just build it up in tiny slices to grow your dog's optimism. Another good game is if your dog is not used to playing games or is a bit nervous or is a bit shut down and maybe less prone to eating or unlikely to chase a piece of food, is just learn to start with to reward anything. And this will start to help grow your dog's optimism. So if your dog is kind of to start with is like is a bit worried, what's going to happen next? And they start getting little rewards for things when they haven't had to do much, then they're going to get a little optimism spike, a little dopamine spike. Oh, that was good. Oh, that was good. Now, obviously, we don't want to grow a dog that's completely dependent on dopamine, but to get our puppy up and moving, then this is a really nice game to play. So we might your puppy turns and looks at you, you're going to reward it. Your puppy puts their paws on you, you're going to reward it. So you are looking for tiny moments where the dog actually hasn't really had to do anything, where you are going to reward that. Stepping towards an object, putting their paw on something that's unfamiliar. So we're just going to reward that to the dog's mouth with a gentle cue. Nice. Good girl or boy or whatever. Okay. So growing a dog's optimism, if they're a little bit tight and if they're a little bit shut down with the reward anything game, to just get them used to being rewarded for curiosity and being rewarded for taking a little bit of a risk. So again, this takes us back to our independence film where we are talking about not over managing our dog's environment so they get the opportunity to explore and to kind of grow this optimistic outlook. So, why does all of this matter um, before we even start any kind of socialization? Because socialization, as I said, puts a dog into situations that they don't have the skill for. And rather than create confidence, it creates avoidance. It creates an overwhelmed nervous system. If we work on the dog's confidence, independence, and calmness first, before we start to introduce the environment, they will be in a much better position to help. But even once they've learnt these skills, we are not going to push our dog through the old narrative of socialization, of take them up to everybody, take them up to other dogs. For instance, if you take them up to another dog and the dog, because older dogs don't always like puppies, because puppies can be unpredictable and they don't really have the meet and greet manners that an older dog would expect. And the older dog might pin your puppy down, they might bark at your puppy, and people will go, oh, well, it teaches your dog his place. No, it doesn't. All it teaches your dog is that other dogs are scary. And that memory that goes in is called a flashbulb memory. It's a memory that's accompanied by stress. So we don't want these because they are really annoying to unpick later on down the line. Our puppy needs, oh, let me see if I can do this. Our puppy needs rose-colored glasses. Our puppy needs optimism. Our puppy needs to view the world as a as just somewhere amazing to be, somewhere fun to be. We don't want anything scary to happen to them while their brain is so malleable and the lessons that they're going to be learning from that are so unhelpful. So ignore the socialization narrative and concentrate on our calmness, our confidence, and our optimism. And then socializing them will come later. It will come in very tiny slices, and we'll talk about that in another video. But for now, what we're doing is we're building a puppy who believes the world is safe, that it's okay to explore, that it's okay to try something, that it's okay to get something wrong. This is what is going to build an optimistic, confident dog, and this is going to stop you from getting some of these really difficult behaviors that Chihuahuas grow into further down the line. 90% of those behaviors, probably even more than that, grow from puppyhood, grow from overhandling, and grow from having their environment managed and not being given the opportunity to develop at their own pace. So I hope you found this video useful. As ever, please give us a thumbs up and like and subscribe to our channel because it helps us grow and it helps us spread the positive Chihuahua training message. If you have any questions about anything here, then please leave them in the comments below. And as ever, I look forward to speaking with you again soon. You take care. Bye.